over to Jeff, who will be going over the online platform for trackers. Take it away, Jeff.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Jeff Coombs. I'm the president of Crunch.io. Crunch is a survey data analytics platform. I'm here with Chris Jones, our product director for analytics, visualization, and dashboards. We're here to talk about online platforms for tracker analytics. Our theme today is simple. It's just time to go online for trackers. So you're going online for all kinds of things. So why are you doing that? You just want to do things faster. Remember those days when you used to go inside a bank and stand in line to get to a teller? It was slow, it was time consuming. You got to eat lollipops, however. A few decades ago, though, we found this miraculous time-saving thing called an ATM. We could get cash out and deposit a check, and it was much faster. But today, that isn't fast enough at all. About 3 years ago, I started asking every coffee shop, retailer, and restaurant if they had Apple Pay. Gradually, they started doing it. Now it's everywhere. We use that. We also deposit checks with our phones right in our homes. No teller, no ATM. I use Apple Pay almost exclusively now, as does every teenager and millennial. We went from long wait times to instant response. That's what we need to do in market research. However, where are many of us today? We're staring at where we are today. We analyze tracker surveys, basically being in a teller line. We're staring at Excel tabs here. This particular one has either, I can't read it, 385 or 395 tables. Each tab has something like thousands or many thousands of data points, totaling millions, tens of millions, or even 100 millions of data points. Analyzing the data is cumbersome and really slow, way too slow. So whether you're a market research firm delivering to an insights professional or an insights team member delivering to the head of a division or the head of marketing, the CFO, this whomever, trying to come up with insights and delivering them to stakeholders, tabs are just a slow way to do it. So what is the process that's not state of the art, but it's very common today. The survey comes out of the field here on the left, and pretty quickly the DP team, maybe in India and Bulgaria somewhere, comes up with a set of tabs, and you start looking at it. In week one, you're doing quality checking. You eyeball it all, and often even though you've got 385 tabs, they didn't answer a couple of the questions you had. You didn't get the data you needed. So you send your request off to your Indian or Bulgarian team, and you wait 24 or 48 hours. You start creating a set of standard PowerPoints somewhere after week one. And along the way, you've got to create those by hand from the tabs. You've got to cut and paste from the Excel from scratch, manually by hand. In week two, you start to put together the more standard slides to go to your stakeholders, maybe 50, maybe 100, or to your customers. You create a set of 10 to 20 curated slides that have your insights, and you spend a lot of time making them really fancy. So then your customer or your stakeholder starts asking questions. They have questions that weren't answered in your slides or in your tabs. So they go to you, then you go to Bulgaria, and then it's a 48-hour turnaround to get back to your customer. Yesterday, I talked to a market research firm for the first time in Thailand. They deliver syndicated data for the restaurant industry. One of their customers, the largest restaurant chain in Thailand, just hired a new head of marketing who hired 2 insights professionals. They're grilling the MR firm with questions. The MR firm has to keep going back and forth to their data provider. They don't do the fielding themselves to answer the question, to get new cuts. It's killing them. They're looking for a better way to handle those demands, to do it much faster. So let me ask you, it's what they're asking for. What if you could have Apple Pay or online banking for your market research? What if you could reduce the turnaround time from a couple of weeks to a day or two or even less? Well, you can. It's time to go online for tracker analysis, and that's what Chris Jones is going to demo to you shortly. Chris will show you the new workflow for you. What will that workflow look like? Well, you'll start looking at the data halfway through fielding before you're even done with the fielding. The data will flow from your fielding system into Crunch, whether it's your own custom software or it's Decipher, or if you're getting it from a market research firm, the data will flow into a Crunch data set online. It lives in an AWS server located in Ireland, so that we can meet GDPR security and privacy regulations. For some reason, everybody likes data that lives in Ireland. Excuse me for the misspeak there. You, your customers, your stakeholders will get your standard reports automatically generation. You can use dashboards that are automatically updated when you're about halfway through with all of the new waves of data. And like our restaurant chain insights team in Thailand, you can drag and drop to get the data you need. You're going to self-service, do your own explorations online, and you'll get the responses instantly. You'll start finding some insights even before fielding is finished. You'll start preparing your update your insights reports much earlier. So day one, hour one, fielding is complete. You'll already have been working with the data. You'll have already adjusted reports and dashboards. So day one, hour one, you can deliver to your stakeholders, to your customers. Standard reports can be updated even with initial insights. Plus, you'll deliver the data online to your customers so they can do their own analysis, their own cuts, answer their own questions, drag and drop. There'll be eyes on the data much sooner. More eyes on the data means it's the reason you'll have more eyes on the data is because it's easy to use and it's online, always on. You'll have more collaboration, better, faster insights. And so day two, not the end of week two or the end of week three, you'll have full insights and you'll deliver your full online reports. Chris will now demo Crunch. What he's going to show you is first interactive analysis. He'll build a crosstab. He'll show you a graph of it. Then he's going to save some of those analyses to what we call a deck. And from that deck, he's going to show you how you can instantly download it to PowerPoint and have those be editable objects and branded with either your logo and your colors or your customers or your stakeholders. He'll also show you how to build or adapt or change a dashboard very easily. And he won't show you, but you can generate tabs with Crunch. But I think what you're going to find is that you're not going to really want to do that anymore. So let's have Chris give you a look at Crunch. So Chris, if you could take it away, please.
Thanks, Jeff. Like almost everything in Crunch, analysing a dataset is done using simple drag and drop. All my questions from my survey are arranged into these neat folders here, and to view a simple table of one, all I need to do is click it. Now, if I want to see that variable crossed by another, to see it over time perhaps, I simply click and drag that wave variable, and as I start to do so, you can see that I'm presented with these drop zones. Each is labelled to tell me what to expect, so I'm going to bring this wave variable up here and drop it in this columns drop zone. And that's all I have to do to create a crosstab. But perhaps I want to see these results not for all respondents, but just for those who are from the US. For that, I just take this country variable here and start to drag that, and this time I'm going to place it in this filter by drop zone and let go. And then I'll choose the USA option, and now I'm just looking at the results for the US respondents. And remember that Crunch is calculating everything in real time here. Nothing is pre-calculated, which means that there's no limit to the combinations you can create. So far, we've been just looking at tables, but Crunch supports a variety of other visualization types, including these interactive line graphs, which are perfect for trackers, especially with great additional features such as smoothing, otherwise known as rolling averages, and these confidence interval bands. And if you want to drill down even further, you can add another variable to what we call tabs, which allow you to quickly flick between different categories of that variable and see the impact on your results. Once you've found an analysis that you're interested in, you can save it to what we call a deck. Analyses saved to a deck can be exported to both Excel tables and fully editable PowerPoint presentations. And a deck of analyses can become a dashboard in just a few clicks, and I'll show you that in a moment. But first, let's have a look at that PowerPoint export. As you can see, PowerPoint exports from Crunch use fully native PowerPoint objects, just as if you had made those analyses yourself in PowerPoint, enabling you to make any changes you wish. You can even upload your own PowerPoint template so that the exports come out into your look and feel. Back to Crunch, and let's save this analysis to this existing deck. We can see it here at the bottom. I'm now going to jump to that dashboard, and when I scroll to the bottom, you can see that same analysis now here on that dashboard. That's all I had to do to add it, just save it to the deck. But maybe I don't want it to be here on this first tab, so let's go into edit mode and choose to move it to this media consumption tab instead. There we go. But perhaps I want it over here, and perhaps a little wider, like so. Laying out dashboards in Crunch is so simple. Just click and drag to reposition, and drag these corners to resize. That's all there is to it. We'll see more from Crunch later, but for now, back to Jeff.
Chris, thanks for that. That's how you do analysis. That's after the fact. How does Crunch handle trackers? How does the tracking data get into Crunch? How does a new wave get imported so it's ready to go so quickly?
So here we are in our brand health master dataset, and we can see that we have 64,858 cases. But of course we're about to add some more. To append a new wave, we go to the Properties menu, we choose Append, we choose the dataset that we want to append, it's this one, Wave 11. We can see all the variables that it contains. We can choose to exclude some if we wanted to, and we click Append. Done. We click View, and now we have our appended wave added to that original dataset. The first thing to note is that our number of cases has gone up to 71,326, and we can see that it's been done. If we come in here to Time and Geography and choose Wave, we can see we now have November, where previously it was only up to October, and we can also see in our categorical wave variable we now have number 11. If we go to our dashboard, we can see that this time series chart here now has data for November. We didn't need to do anything. There was nothing to update. It's just automatically added to these charts. With Crunch, that's all it takes to append a new wave.
So Chris, that looked incredibly easy, but I've heard that trackers are hard, really hard. If it's really that easy, why haven't people already gone online for survey data analysis? What's so hard about it?
There's no denying that trackers can be challenging. On paper at least, you set up the first wave just like any other ad hoc project, and then sit back and watch as every new wave just seamlessly lines up with the first. So why is it never like that in reality? So what can you do to make trackers more manageable? The most obvious thing, perhaps, is to instill greater discipline in your process. The ideal solution to variable IDs that don't match between waves is to make 100% sure that you don't change any. The ideal solution to managing new categories added between waves is to not add any. Just don't make any changes and you'll be fine. But that's not the real world. Surveys are scripted by humans, and humans produce typos, such as when a hyphen is used instead of an underscore in a variable name, and now it's treated as a whole new variable. And then there are all the expected changes, like when the new territory gets added that has some country-specific questions. Other please specify options get added. Some brands need to be added, and others removed as the retail landscape changes, and so many more. There's nothing easy about managing these situations with traditional market research workflows. You'll typically only notice there's a problem when the researcher receives their set of tables and things don't look right. So then the problems need to be compiled and reported to the data processing team, who need to investigate and track down the cause, perhaps tracing it to a typo in the survey script. And now they need to write a bunch more scripts to handle this exception. But in the meantime, perhaps the researcher has spotted that the additional questions for the new country have strange base sizes, because the respondents from the other countries are being incorrectly coded as chose not to answer, rather than not asked. So then you need another loop back to the data processing team, another diagnosis, and another fix. This is where the pain of trackers lies. There's nothing smart about this process. There's much too much back and forth between the researcher and the data processing team, and it's not a good use of either of their time.
I get it now. That it's really hard. It's not that easy. So how does Crunch handle all those very common challenges you talked about in getting that data uploaded and massaged and ready to go in Crunch? How does Crunch do that?
Crunch knows a thing or two about trackers, which is not surprising because we've worked with thousands on our platform. So we know what researchers actually need to make one successful, and we know the difference between a tracking study that's painful and one that's quick and easy. You may never achieve the dream of a completely hands-off process, but you can get close. Let's see what's involved in appending a new wave to an existing tracker using Crunch. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. For this demonstration, we're going to add on another wave to the brand health tracker project we've seen before.
So now let's append wave 12. Same method as before. Properties, append. This time, dataset being wave 12, and append. Let's take a look. Now, some expected differences and some unexpected differences. So first of all, this new wave contained a new variable, Nike customer status. That's fine, but we'll want to organize it within the right position within these folders. I can also see that we have a new category, sketches, added to some of these variables. That's fine. New categories being added to datasets between waves happens all the time. Crunch handles that no problem. But there's an unwanted change too. Here we have top of mind aware as a separate variable, even though we have top of mind awareness already in the dataset. So how come these didn't come together? Let's have a look. So here we have an alias of TOM space aware, alias being Crunch's unique identifier for variables. And here we have an alias of TOM underscore aware. Okay, we understand the problem. We can see that in the most recent wave, somebody has decided to change the alias of this variable. These things happen, and we can fix it. So let's go back to Properties, History, and let's go and restore a save point from when we had appended wave 11 and not yet appended wave 12. There we go. We click Close. And now, to make sure this merge works properly, I can come up to this variable and change it to match. Now, when we repeat that append, we find that that variable has been successfully merged in with the one top of mind awareness rather than giving us a separate one here. In terms of getting this variable into a nice location, probably within the purchase decision folder, I'm going to come in again to Properties and Edit Variables. And here it's just drag and drop. Like so many other things in Crunch, I just take this variable and just drag it into the purchase decision folder, and I'm done. That's all it took. And now here it is. So having resolved those two small issues, I can come back to my dashboard. You can see we now have December data. But look, that's interesting. A large uptick for our pretend client, Nike. We should let them know about this. So I'm going to double click on this analysis, and I'm going to save it a second time to my deck. That's going to give me a new version of it, which we can see down the bottom here. And I've done that so that I can come into Edit Tile and change it to what we call a KPI widget. where the particular cell I'm interested in promoting or making clear to our client is this value here, this 17% for Nike in the most recent wave. I select that. Nike date, it's given me that name automatically. I think that's pretty good. Top of mind awareness for Nike, and save. And I can position this anywhere within the dashboard. I might want to perhaps put it here. There you go, nice and prominently there perhaps. And done. So now we're ready to let the client know that the dashboard has been updated with the latest wave, and they're able to come in and see the new analysis that we've created too, all without needing the services of specialist dashboard creators, programmers, scripters, even a DP department. All of this can be done by anyone in a company and without specialist skills.
As you saw there, updating a dataset with new cases in Crunch automatically updates dashboards. But the even better news is that it's not just dashboards. Crunch automatically updates all your filters, all your custom variables, all your saved analyses. Everything you've made in Crunch gets automatically updated with the new data. Crunch also offers a custom-built scripting language designed specifically for the needs of data processing teams to perform their tasks with survey research, enabling them to automate these stages for even quicker results. And you don't even need to wait until fieldwork is finished to do this. Any adjustments needed can be performed as soon as you have any new cases, meaning it can all be resolved during the fieldwork period, rather than causing any delays to your delivery. And by getting your results updated and available immediately after fieldwork closes, you can get eyes on the data really fast. If you're a brand, you don't have to worry about aligning and combining data at all. We offer white glove service to import and prepare the data for you, so you can focus on finding insights and delivering to your stakeholders.
Okay, thanks, Chris. We heard from Chris, whether you're a market research professional or an insights team, you can get tracker data up and running quickly. Let me note here for you that market researchers and you insights folks won't be importing all that data yourselves and making all those manual adjustments that Chris showed. That'll be done behind the scenes by a market research firm's DP department or by Crunch. Chris talked about our white glove service. And all those adjustments Chris made won't actually be done manually in the GUI by those DP folks. They'll be done in Crunch automation, the scripting language that Chris mentioned. Crunch automation can automate anything you can do in the GUI, and it's key in getting the data to you automatically and quickly. So your data can be available halfway through fielding or maybe even a week prior to completion, and then immediately when you're out of field. So the complete data set will be right in Crunch within an hour or two into your stakeholders or customers with full reports, even an online dashboard, and the ability to do interactive analytics very, very quickly. You'll have some insights ready to deliver and a fully integrated online and offline report in a couple of days. So this timeline you see here is going to happen in a couple of days total, a lot quicker than the 2 to 3 weeks that you're probably used to. So let me recap a little bit and summarize the advantages of Crunch: easy self-service in a drag and drop environment, visualizations with a click, time series charts of automatically appended tracker waves data, a back-end survey database system that's set to scale to huge amounts of data, and you still get sub-second response, even if you have a tracker with 20 countries, 12 years of data, and hundreds of products or SKUs. So we've been selling Crunch for quite some time. Let's talk about some of the customers. For about 3 years. We're approaching 100,000 users now, actually. We have 200,000 data sets, thousands of trackers. High-tech companies were very early and extensive users of Crunch. So companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft. Google actually has about 1,000 users of Crunch. But we're used across industries, Coke. We're talking to Pepsi, in politics, political polling, pharma, finance. And in fact, let's talk about one customer. And this is a large financial services company. They needed online self-service. The insights department has standardized on Crunch. They have 4 or 5 market research vendors, and this financial firm asked them all to work with Crunch to automate getting their survey data into Crunch. They were tired of spreadsheets and the 2-day turnarounds. They wanted to do online self-service. They want to look at the data themselves, not rely solely on the MR firms and their eyeballs and their analysis. They have a global insights team of about a dozen people with 5 or 6 insights teams around the world. They all work on Crunch. The biggest tracker is 46 countries, and it's done quarterly. They no longer look at spreadsheets, and their strategic direction is to do more surveys with fewer people, or actually the same number of people. So I think we've got a few questions to ask here. I think Christine's going to join us and tell us what questions we've got.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thanks to Chris Jones, who couldn't join us live but recorded some of our demos from the UK. It's great to see the platform in action. So we do have a couple of questions. So I'll be going through a few of these with you, Jeff. So the first one is, how does weighting work for trackers and waves?
So weighting can work in a number of different ways. I think the most important thing to note is that weights can be applied by wave. You can create the weights yourself outside of Crunch or within Crunch, and you essentially create a variable for the weights and apply them so that you can have the right mix of men, women, or whatever. And so you can either create them within Crunch or outside, and you can apply a separate weight for each wave. You want to, when you have a new wave, you want a new weight for that wave, so that you don't want to create a new wave and change your past data. You want to have that stay the same. So complete weighting capabilities.
Great. And this next question we have is one that we get quite a lot, and it's asking about branding options for the dashboards. The question is, can I brand the dashboard with logos and colors from my client?
So yes, you can brand a number of different places in Crunch. You can have something called the landing page. So when someone first comes into Crunch, they see all their different data sets, all their different dashboards, and that can be branded for whatever you want. You can have branding per folder, and you can have logos. You can have your own URL if you want. You can have color palettes. The PowerPoint exports that you make can be branded for either your company or for your customers or your stakeholders. So complete branding across landing pages and dashboards and the PowerPoint exports.
I know we're coming up a bit on time, so I'll just try and squeeze in a few more questions. But what data formats can Crunch import?
Essentially, Crunch can get just about any data into Crunch. You can provide us with a file. That's the most manual way, an SPSS file, SSS, a CSV with some JSON information attached to it. We also have direct integrations with a number of survey fielding platforms like Decipher, Qualtrics, SurveyMonkey, Confirmit, where the data can stream in without any manual interaction. And so we can work with you and whatever your fielding platform is to have the data come in either batch or all the way to streaming in response by response.
Great, thanks, Jeff. I'll just ask one more, and that is about what permissions or roles are available in Crunch.
Permissions can be handled in a number of different ways. You can have what we call views, so that if you've got a multi-country tracker, for example, you limit a user to a certain view, which can be by geography. It's row and column level permissions on the data set. So the columns might be what questions you want to see or what products, and the rows might be what countries. So you can make sure people only see the data you want to see. You can also limit the permissions such that people can be only dashboard viewers and only get a dashboard, or only viewers of the data. Or then you can have editors who have complete ability to edit the data and adjust the data, apply weights. So a variety of different permissions with Crunch.
Excellent.
I think
Well, yes, I think we're at time now, but on behalf of the Green Book and Crunch team, thank you all for joining.